And welcome back. It is now 25 minutes to 8 o'clock. Today being Thursday, we're looking at matters, social issues, and police brutality is top of the list. This morning, we'd like to discuss that. Earlier on, we had asked a question and we wanted to find out from you what you feel would be the recourse. What should the National Police Service do to tame brutality among some of its members? What should the police service do to tame brutality among some of its members? We do know that this has been a perennial problem. We've had it come up time and again. And for those maybe who would want a visual, what we remember recently is the incident we had at City Hall not too long ago, where we had a lady who was literally manhandled by police in the name of being cleared. And of course, there was hue and cry about that, and that's what we'd like to engage on. Let us know what your thoughts are. I'll just read some of the comments before I introduce the guest that we have this morning via video link, who we're going to be having this conversation with. And on that question, we have Obinga, who says, if accused, stop them from working, investigate and prosecute them. Also, they can adapt the body cam system. This is the system where they have a body camera that would act as evidence as to why some of the times they are brutal. And if I would refer to the incident at City Hall, this woman was not armed and was not resisting arrest in any way. We have Matlala, who says our police officers and brutality cannot end soon. What it needs is a change of a syllabus. They are taught in Kiganjo or Utawala institution, and this civilian education and character are instilled in them. At this point, I'd like to introduce the guest that we're having, and allow me to start with Mr. Charles Owino, who's a police spokesperson, who is going to be, joining us this morning via video link to just engage and give us his opinion and views, and also just to ask him a few questions as to why we are where we are. And we also have Mr. Charles Gasheke Gishuhi, who is the coordinator for Mathare Social Justice. But before that, we have a story where the current leadership crisis at City Hall escalated after 59 members of the County Assembly okayed the ouster of Speaker Beatrice Elachi. Meanwhile, Elachi has suspended the county sittings until September, throwing the county that has a powerless governor with no deputy into deeper confusion, as we see from this report by Emmanuel.
The Nairobi County Assembly is on a free gear to its own destruction. This time round, members of the County Assembly threatening to impeach Speaker Beatrice Elachi. But their efforts to submit the document were not only futile, but also welcoming police brutality.
I was taking water and I was all alone. Immediately I had, tear gas, and then my colleagues came running. I could, because I've had surgery, I couldn't run towards the tear gas, so I decided to sit there. Then one police came, and he's been identified as Moniki. Came and took a rungu and, smashed it on the table, and then I was a bit shaken. And then he was telling me, get out of here. And I personally, I can't run towards the tear gas because of my condition. So when I told him, no, I can't go that way, he took the rungu himself and hit me here. When I he wanted to hit my face, and then I tried to block. That's when he hit my hand. And then 3 others joined him. They dragged me down, and they started beating me from down.
All right, and that is the story of an MCA that many of us will remember, Patricia Mudheu, who was manhandled by police. Let me start with you, Mr. Charles Owino. And this particular incident is one that many of us will remember. What would you have to say in an incident like that, where you have a woman who is not armed, she's not resisting arrest, but you have 3 police officers literally using batons to clobber her? Mr. Charles Owino, hopefully you can hear me. We've had that incident of Patricia Budel, an MCA at the City Hall, and I'm sure you've seen the video before, where we have a woman who is literally not resisting arrest, is not armed, but we have 3 officers who are using batons to assault her, because we cannot call it arrest.
Number one, I think I will be unfair to discuss. I don't know if you are getting me.
I can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, I think it will be unfair for me to discuss that issue in particular because the Inspector General has handed over the issue to Internal Affairs Unit, and I think IPOA is also investigating the matter. But I would want to take you back on these issues of police brutality and so on and so forth. But the most important thing is, first of all, we must be able to find out and establish why do we have police in our society, because we must be very careful so that we don't get a situation where policemen will end up fearing so much taking action against criminals. Number one, nobody has been trained to assault any person at any given time. The duty of the police is to protect individual citizens, we protect them and protect their properties. And therefore, any officer who is involved in cases of assault or brutality, they do it against the law. And the law definitely takes its own course. And that is why we have the authorities that are supposed to oversight on such like matters like the IPOA and the Internal Affairs Unit. So I cannot call it a matter of training. But I said that, first of all, we must be able to understand why do we have police? Because when we go back to history, you will find that at one particular time, man lived in the state of nature, where life was life like life in the jungle. What mattered was your might. If you are strong, you survive. If you are weak, you don't survive. But then later, man decided to surrender all their power to the states, so that when you have a problem, you don't go fighting your colleague. When somebody assaults you.
True, Mr. Owino. Allow me to interrupt you a little bit, and just to go back to that particular clip that we've played. And I totally agree that we do not want to discuss the merits or demerit of that particular case. But in an incident like that, where there is video evidence of a lady who is not resisting arrest, then you have 3 men who are holding sticks, and not just holding them, literally brutally assaulting her. I would expect that at least we would get a word from you that that is illegal, that is uncalled for, that is not in police training, because we are in the process of trying to change a police force to a police service, but it looks like it's still a police force when we see pictures like those.
First of all, it's wrong to accuse police in totality without accusing individual police officers. Because
and what I'm looking for is a comment regarding those particular individuals. Maybe not just the whole police service. We'll come to the whole police service.
I'm an officer of the law, and I'm avoiding accusing my colleagues on camera, especially after investigations have not been completed.
Is there something to investigate in that incident?
First of all, Maura, can you show me Gitonga, can you show me the clip where this lady has been beaten? Let me see it again.
Okay, we shall play it back, but what exactly would you be looking for in that particular clip? Where she has been hit?
Yeah, where she has been hit, because I'm not sure, and I don't want to comment when I'm not sure.
Okay,
that
all right.
She has actually been
all right, we can replay that clip for you to see, and that there is the clip. And if we look, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 officers, each with a baton, literally landing on her. I hope that's clear enough.
Not yet. I think I was.
1, 2, 3, 4 officers, all male, each with a baton, with a stick, and landing on this lady who doesn't seem, she's helpless. She doesn't have anything she's holding. She doesn't have a gun, a stick, a chair.
Maura, I can see that clearly now.
Gitonga.
Gitonga. Why am I calling you Maura every now and again?
You must maybe Maura.
Thank
Maybe
you.
you have a Maura who's close to you, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I've now, it is now
You've
very
seen it.
clear. I cannot be accused for accusing my colleagues unfairly.
Okay.
I can see the way the lady has been.
So would it be fair in a case like that to actually say they were brutal to the woman?
First of all, I don't think any normal thinking person would fight a woman. I don't think even it's even immoral in society, no matter what she has done, whether she has abused you or not. But I hope that those investigative authorities, our authority, the Internal Affairs and IPOA, will investigate this matter with speed and take action, recommend for action against the officers concerned. But you are aware that this is not legal at all. Beating of any person, whether a child, whether a lady, whether a man, is not legal. And it's also immoral, basically, to Gitonga to beat a woman or a lady. I don't think it's right.
Okay, and maybe let me bring in now Mr. Gasheke, who is the coordinator for Mathare Social Justice Center. And Mr. Gasheke, your opening remarks and maybe just your thoughts on where we are as a society and as a country in regards to our police changing from a police force to a police service. Are you satisfied with what is going on in the police training centers in regards to ensuring that we are changing our police force to a police service? And I ask this because we do know that from what we've heard from the police time and again is that there are few rotten apples and we cannot accuse all of them. We certainly have very good policemen out there, but there are those who spoil the, the rest. Your thoughts, Mr. Gasheke? All right, maybe as we try and get that video link with Mr. Gasheke back on, let's come to you, Mr. Charles. So, you are explaining, and sorry I interrupted, but you're explaining the reason why we have police in our society. But the question, maybe to save on time, is why do we get to a point where we seem to always have the police and the civilians at loggerheads? We never feel that the police are there for our benefit. We always feel that they're there to harass, they're there to intimidate, they're there to take advantage of their position over society. Maybe you can explain what happens in that particular regard. Mr. Owino? I don't know if you got my question.
Interrupting us. I don't know what you are going to do. Can I go on?
Yes, please. Go right ahead.
It's okay. First of all, Gitonga, it is important that we get to understand the status of our society as it is today. Generally, if you look at our communities currently, people are acting with a lot of impunity. And the actions that we have with a lot of impunity, most of the times is the cause of conflict between the police and the society. And it is important, fine, as much as we would accuse our police officers who may be doing wrong things. But first of all, it is important for the larger society to also stop acting in impunity. I'm sure, fine, this was a very wrong action. But I'm sure if we would get to know exactly what that woman would have said, or that the lady, the MCA, what she would have done to those police officers before that action was taken, you may get shocked on what could have happened. But that does not mean two wrongs don't make a right. Police officers are trained, they must have the level of restraint. But basically you find that the level at which our society, members of the society are acting with impunity is also too much. And you can see that even when you drive along the roads and you see the actions of matatu drivers, how they drive, how they behave. Currently, you find that we have this issue of the health regulations. The bars have been closed. You'll still find so many people in an apartment, drinking and making noise and merrymaking. Even bars are still open in some places. So the question is, members of our community are acting with a lot of impunity, and this is causing a lot of conflict between police and members of the society. So my take would be that as much as we also have very bad police officers who are doing bad things, but I think we must also start with ourselves to ensure that we limit levels of impunity that we currently see within the communities.
All right,
and I can tell you the
All right, Mr. Owino, what would you consider reasonable force? Because it sounds to me like you're almost justifying some of the force that is used by the police because there are Kenyans who are acting in impunity, and that may be the case. But what in your training and from where you're seated is reasonable force?
Basically, Gitonga, when you talk about reasonable force, it depends on the force that the opponent is using. For example, if you are armed with an AK-47 or any firearm and you are terrorizing people, then the police is justified to use a force slightly higher than yours in order to be able to manage you. But if somebody is not armed, somebody is helpless, like what we are witnessing, then we have an opportunity, because these men are so many, I don't think it would be difficult to have the lady arrested and charged in case there's something wrong she has done. And that is why I say two wrongs don't make a right. Even if this woman would have abused them or told them nasty things, then I think the best thing would have just been to arrest her and take her to custody and charge her appropriately. But when she's beaten, then it waters down everything that she could have done earlier. And it would be very difficult to defend yourself on this matter because we are supposed to protect people. We are not supposed to harm members of the public.
Absolutely. And allow me now to bring in Mr. Gasheke. And when I come back, I'll also want to know from you, Mr. Owino, what message you have to the public and how we need to handle each other. But Mr. Gasheke, what questions or what would you say to what the police spokesperson, Mr. Charles Owino, has to say in regards to Kenyans behaving badly, so to speak, and as a result, they almost provoke the police to use what they would call force, reasonable force?
Thank you, Michael Gitonga, and I really appreciate this dialogue with the police and citizens. This is very important, and we don't know about this. We have been having a community forum. We have met a lot in Kabete discussing about police reform and accountability. But first of all, the police must accept that this problem is systematic and historical. The roots of police problem has been there for a long time. So, Mr. Owino, first of all, must accept what happened in City Hall is a criminal act. And those police must be treated as law breakers because they are not supposed to use the force the way they used against Model. The other thing, the problem with the police has been also not accepting their mistakes and accepting within themselves. There are people who are breaking law every time when they are dealing with the citizens. In the last COVID time, in the last 6 months, they have committed a lot of systematic human rights violations and also beating people. And this, when you look at the character of police in the last number of years, even in the post-election violence, going back to 1990, we have been having this problem. So, Mr. Owino, first of all, must accept that we have a systematic problem within the police service, and we need to come together as a citizen and the police service to reform it. Second, what is needed is every time to show the police who have been committed crime and how they have been treated, so that we can shame them in the public, and the other police officers can learn that breaking the law when you are law enforcing officer is very bad. And that is a lesson that they needed to encapsulate within the police service.
Right.
Hello, you can hear me, Mr.
Yes,
Gitonga?
I can still hear you, Mr. Gasheke.
Yeah, the other thing that is very important, the police service, when you wear that uniform, is a badge of honor. You should not say that, like you all say that we come from the society is rotten, the society provokes the police officer. No, that's why we take you for training, we give you resources, we give you a good office, we pay you the tax money. So when you do all of that, you should be a law-abiding police officer, so that you can give honor with that uniform that you are wearing, like Mr. Wino.
All right.
The other thing is that the biggest problem, and Mr. Wino will agree with this, our police service has been ethnicized. So you find many police officers who are very qualified, efficient. They are not given an opportunity to serve in an important position where they can bring reforms. And this I know, even many police officers who I've spoken with, they complain a lot about corruption within police service. And the genuine police officers who are very critical, professional, efficient, they are not given roles to play. That's a bigger problem. And that's something that you have to fight on and expose so that you can have efficient police officer and professional.
Okay.
Who can know how to manage public affairs.
All right, Mr. Gasheke, I'll come back to you. Let me come to you, Mr. Charles Owino, and several things raised there by Mr. Gasheke, that it's systemic and historical, and police officers not accepting the mistake. Can we start, first of all, by maybe just agreeing that we have rogue police officers? Then the next step would be, what is being done with those rogue police officers? Because we've had this conversation time and again, and we get to the point where we hear they've been arrested, investigations are going on, after that it goes quiet. We never know what happens to them.
First of all, Gitonga, the first thing we must understand is that I would not like a situation where we just wake up and condemn police wholesomely, because we must understand that police is a very large family. And I've always said over and over again that even in a family of a bishop, you cannot say that you cannot have a child who will make mistakes or who can even be a thief. You will get one. And for that reason, as a large family, we will also not miss officers who misbehave at certain times. But we must be realistic and go back to the holistic features of our society and say, how best do we manage ourselves? I know of this case that of the lady who was beaten, and I know you are going to run it the whole year. I'm not saying because policemen are killed by civilians, then policemen should beat people. But we have very many cases where, like last month, I think I had 2-3 cases where police officers have literally been cut using machetes and killed. A case in Lamu, a case in Likoni, and so on and so forth. And that gives you just a background on the way we have a brutal society. These policemen come from this bad society. And I've said our society has shown a lot of impunity in everything that we do. People are not obedient to the rule of law. And these policemen come from this same society, where there's a lot of impunity amongst ourselves. We are not doing the right thing. So what I would say is that let's go back to the society and look at our social behavior, how we manage the social aspect of our society. Because we must also be careful. Police is there to protect all of us. And if we over-condemn the police without being specific, then we are going to put the other police officers under a lot of fear. And the person who will suffer will be the society. Because if the policeman will sit back and say, fine, somebody has come with a gun, somebody is doing a wrong thing, and therefore, if I take action in accordance with the law, I may be condemned, and then the policeman pull back, then the society will suffer.
Okay.
Because just a minute, criminals will reign. But what I'm saying is that we have always accepted where we have made a mistake. We have always taken officers to court. We have a number of officers currently that are either serving jail for having killed or having assaulted or having done other mistakes. We are also having officers who have just been taken to court. So we cannot say that we say action will be taken and nothing happens. Even this particular case, we need to wait for the institutions entrusted with investigations to finish their investigations. Once they finish their investigations and give direction, then we'll be able to we will be able to brief we will be able to have the society informed of their taken. But also, as a police spokesperson and as a police officer, I'll not sit here and condemn my colleagues, because that will cause disaffection in the service. And if through me the police officers become rigid and they feel that they are not being protected enough, what will happen is the society will end up suffering.
Okay, I think we need to establish, Mr. Owino, that we as a society agree that we have very, very brilliant police officers. Let's not look at it, wholesome and say that they are all bad, but we have those bad ones that spoil for the rest. Now, one might argue that it's a lame excuse to say that the police officers maybe are rogue because they're coming from this same society. And I would argue and say that the reason why that would be lame is because, one, they are trained. Two, that is why we have police officers, so that they restore law and order. We cannot have the same police officers are the ones breaking the law. And even away from police brutality, look at even sometimes how they drive. They literally drive on the wrong side of the road, not because they're answering to an emergency, but it's just that same impunity that you're talking about. So the question is, if we are coming from a society that is exercises impunity, and we have a police force stroke service that does the same, then what need do we have for that police service? And I'm specifically referring to the rogue ones, not the good ones. Of course, we have a very good number of police officers that are doing a good job, but the rogue ones, what do you say to Kenyans as to the action being taken against them?
My stand remains, I remain firm to my stand that these police officers clearly come from a rogue society. The bad police officers have, when you are recruiting, let's say 10,000 officers, you cannot be so meticulous that you can fail to recruit even 1% or 0 point something percent of bad people. So if you have a society where 80% practice impunity, you cannot, and then you go recruiting a number of people, the probability that you will also recruit bad people is very high, and we cannot run away from that. And that is why I'm saying you cannot tell me because you are a bishop, you cannot bring forth a criminal, because each person has his way of doing things. But what I'm saying is we cannot say police officers. We can talk about individual police officers, and you can see what we do every year. We sack a large number of officers every year, without even taking through court on disciplinary cases. And cases which are criminal, we take to court. And I think this must be appreciated. But more so, you said we have many brilliant officers. Yes, brilliance is the fact that you are brilliant does not mean you cannot commit an offense or a crime. What we need is brilliance and discipline. You can be somebody who is not brilliant, you can be somebody who is even illiterate, but you are very disciplined, and therefore you can be entrusted with very many things. So you can also be brilliant, but you are rogue. So it's not an issue of brilliance. We have very many brilliant police officers. Actually, police service is one of the services that cuts across all professions. We have engineers, we have lawyers, we have medical doctors, we have all sorts of people. So it's not a matter of brilliance, it's a matter of discipline.
And no wonder they're referred to as the disciplined service.
Yes, and I'm still remaining to this fact, Gitonga, that the society must come out clean. The society is rotten, the society practices impunity, and the society is giving police a very hard time in policing them.
All right, let me bring in Mr. Gasheke. And Mr. Gasheke, what's the one thing you feel that the police need to do for you to somehow see that we're making progress? Do you think we are moving our police from a force to a service? And what's the one thing you feel needs to happen for you to feel at least we're making some progress in that direction? Mr. Gasheke.
First of all, I thank Mr. Owino, and he has been doing very great work in speaking about the issue of the police. But he should stop saying that he's protecting the police and he's defending them. The police are protected by the law and the Constitution. So he should not be seeing like he's doing a favor to them. So every time he says that when he speaks against illegal acts or criminal acts done by his fellow officers, they feel demoralized. No. If they done something wrong, he should condemn them. There is an incident where the police messed up with some people who are burning people in Nyanza, and the police went there and apologized. Also, I saw in Nandi there when police committed some atrocity and killed people. The police in Rift Valley there went there and apologized. So we need to see things like that going forward. But Owino has been consistently not accepting that police are doing mistakes and not accepting that we have a historical problem which is systematic. First of all, Owino must start accepting, yes, we have systematic problem within the police service. That's why we are changing. We have started changing with the uniform.
Mr. Kasheke, allow me to interrupt you there. You keep saying that we have a systematic problem. What do you identify as a systematic problem?
Systematic problem is that the police, the way it was constructed in the colonial era, an oppressive service, and a service to oppress people, not to serve people. That's historical foundation. Even when you go to the police headquarters there, you will see they follow the same historical pattern from the first colonial police officer commissioners. So they must start accepting that the foundation of the police service in Kenya was colonial, was a police to use violence to suppress people. Then we have endemic and systematic corruption and extortion. And also we have ethnic promotion, ethnicization of the police service. So those are major problems. So we must start accepting that we have systematic problems. Then
Kasheke, what would your proposed solution to that systematic problem be?
We have done so. We live in Owino, Inspector General, Matiang'i and everybody in Kabete, discussing how to bring police reform.
What would your proposed solution be?
It is there in the blueprint they launched on how to involve the citizen in helping the police to reform, starting with community-based organizations like Madara here, on how the officer commanding police station like Tuhuruma can involve ordinary people to help vet raw police officer within a station, to help the police station to bring the pattern of crime within an area to report, not to bring all collective within a community to help, because police cannot themselves fight crime alone, because they are few, their resources are limited. So what do? You bring community together. But if the police station is where there is extortion, corruption, human rights violation, citizens will not come there. So we need to change police service, police force to a service. But that has not happened.
Okay, Mr. Kasheke, because of time, we'll have to manage time here. And let me come to you, Mr. Owino. And I'd like to get your general message to the public, to people who feel that the police have not done a good job in defending them as a society. As much as it's a brutal society, with all that aside, what was your message to the general public, and how do you want us to view the police in terms of how they operate?
First of all, it is important that we get to understand that we will never get police officers from another country to come and enforce our laws and regulations in this country. We are only going to have our local policemen. And for that reason, it is important that the society accepts that they need the police to protect them and to enforce laws and regulations so that we can move on smoothly as a state. But the most important thing is that it's important also to request members of society to make the police work easy by being obedient to rules and regulations of the country, so that we stop unnecessary impunity and we stop conflict between police and members of the public. But we should also ensure as a society that we show some kind of love to our members of our police service, and that when an individual police officer makes a mistake, we ensure, all of us, that action is taken appropriately against that officer, and that we don't end up condemning the whole service. My friend was saying that I feel that I have a duty to protect police officers. The officers we protect are the large number, the 98%, 99% of the good officers, because I feel bad when people say police brutality, and I can't remember when I've ever brutalized anybody. And I think that traumatizes the police when we condemn them wholesomely, because a large number of them are doing a good job. As we speak today, I have a large number of officers who are along the borders of this country who did not sleep the whole night. They were in tunnels protecting our country. Others were on beat duties, and they have done a good job. So I think it is important that we become specific and we categorize clearly officers who are doing the wrong things and officers who are doing good things. But generally, I think we've done better. The police is doing much better than it has done.
And maybe if I speak on behalf of the society, as you say, we need to show the police officers some love. Can they also show the citizens some love? And even for those who are against the law, there is a training, there is a system. That's why when some police officers have handcuffs, rather than beat people to pulp, use the handcuffs and arrest people as per the law.
Yes, Gitonga, I've just said that there seems to be a competition between society and the police, because when we say that we need to stop impunity, we need to work together, the next thing you would say, oh, police also need to do this thing. I've said 2 mistakes don't make a right, and we must know our boundaries clearly. Members of the public must know their boundaries, police must know their boundaries. We must limit conflict, and we must make police work easy. But you see, in a society where we are still telling children, small kids, that when you cry, we are going to call police, and the kids grow with a formed opinion, you find people don't respect the uniform, people don't respect the police. A very senior person, for example, a very senior politician, if I may use a very crude word, telling a very senior policeman, wewe malaya umekuja kufanya nini hapa? Those are very crude things, and it's not good at all to use those type of words, to go provoking people. Every person has an element of madness. So you don't go provoking madness of an individual to a certain level. There are things we can avoid. There are things we should clearly avoid. And there are so many things that are done to policemen that you don't see. But we don't need to cry. This is a job we chose and we must do it. I'm proud to be a policeman. So I think the society must shape up.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Charles Owino, for your time. We appreciate your time and talking to us. Let me just get the closing remarks from Mr. Gasheke. Very briefly, we're out of time. Mr. Gasheke, your closing remarks.
I just appreciate we know the work they are doing. Police are doing a lot of work, and I also condemn the acts that are done by political class. They are the one who misuse police. They don't pay them very well. They use them a lot in a lot of work, but they don't pay them. And also, I also agree with that we should catch our kids when they see a problem to call a police, not when we intimidate them in our houses. That when they cry, we'll call police. I think this culture change values is a societal problem that we have to work together. But the police must start accepting they have a problem. And when they have a problem, they come out and say, this is our problem, we'll deal with it. Not every time defending the police.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gasheke Gashuhe, who is a coordinator for Mathare Social Justice, and that other was Mr. Charles Owino, police spokesperson, and we're talking about police brutality. For now, we're going to take a short break right here on